This is the Real Good Procast with your hosts, Declan DeBarb, Ian Blumenthal, and Marshall Heath.
Welcome, everyone, to the Real Good Procast. My name, Declan DeBarp, as always. Ian Blumenthal to my left. How's it going, buddy?
What's up? It's pretty good. Been a pretty slow week so far, but we're going. Yeah.
Different face on my right over here. We got Sebastian Court, producer Sebastian Court on the podcast. Marshall was officially eliminated from the playoffs and is not allowed to be on this episode of the podcast.
No. I get the most points from behind the scenes.
Seb can also finally defend himself in this episode, so I think it's a big one.
We talk a lot of shit about you, but it's all love, bro.
No, it's all hate. It's all unseething hate.
You curl instead of play hockey, you dickhead.
I'm wearing the right sweater for tonight, aren't I?
I know, I see it.
It's okay.
He also has socks. Fun fact, all the viewers at home. Seb has socks that are curling, but they have polar bears curling.
I have two pairs of
I just think Seb and his girlfriend go out and curl, and that's all they do.
They went on the canal with the rocks, and they just...
Everyone was looking at him like, what are you doing?
I'm having a good time.
Well, that and they go deep sea ice fishing.
Oh my god.
Man, curling is perfect because you know how to do ice fishing because you're learning how to stand on ice and chill.
I mean, it requires the same amount of alcohol to curl and do ice fishing. To stand both?
So, yeah, none.
So
ice fishing is dangerous.
Man, it's like the guy at the Olympics whose wife was the curler and he was
that was hilarious.
Beers.
That's such a curling club thing.
But he was quadruple fisting because he had 4 beers at the same time.
No, he got 2, sat down. The camera perfectly got him as he was coming. It's like, this is his wife. This is his wife, or this is his husband. Comes in and it's like, funny. And then it happens again. He comes in with 2 more. It's like, yeah, that's it.
Well, talking about women's sports, like women's curling.
Yeah, I think one of the saddest stories in the hockey world. We're dragging it to a more somber place. The CWHL, for those of you that don't know, folded on March 31st. That was Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. There were two women's professional hockey leagues in North America, the CWHL and the NWHL.
This could be a good step in the right direction, though, making it 1 league instead of 2. Because it's harder to separate the revenue for 2 different leagues, especially. And now the NHL also said that they were going to start contributing a lot more to the NWHL and expand into Canada.
Well, I'll get to that. I'm just going to set this up fully. The CWHL, the Clarkson Cup happened on the 24th. The Calgary Inferno won. It was a great game. Sportsnet broadcast. A lot of support from the Sportsnet crew. You saw people like Brian Burke getting involved. He's done a lot of good work with the women's game in this country.
Whoa, praising Brian Burke.
I know.
How dare you?
Whoa. What'd you do with Declan?
But the women are currently out in Finland for the World Hockey Championship, and most of them just learning that they're out of a job. It's horrible, but as you mentioned, there is the possibility that the 2 leagues can merge. The NHL said that they didn't want to get involved in the whole situation between the 2 leagues. They supported both leagues equally,
but now
giving each league $50,000. Now the NWHL receives the whole financial amount at $100,000. We'll get into what everybody thinks about that a little bit later. There were some talks to join the 2 leagues earlier this year in January. It was seen as the only way to progress the women's game, to get some more funding in it. In January. They were set to have new talks in April, but obviously the CWHL has folded. A lot of the players are looking to see that the CWHL is just taking a step to shut down and hopefully bring that 1 league.
Make it 1 big league.
They're looking to expand to Toronto, Montreal, possibly Calgary. So hopefully that the remnants of those clubs aren't gone. There's a lot of support for the women's game, at least in Toronto and Montreal. Those are 2 great teams. A lot of development path for players like that. I believe Spooner is on the Furies.
She posted a picture today on Twitter, and it was like the Team Canada, like they were getting ready for the World Cup.
Yeah, World Championship in Finland.
Sorry, and they looked happy. Like, obviously, it's upsetting that the league is closing, but one step, like as Haley Wickenheiser said, I think it was like 1 step backwards, 2 steps forwards. You're losing 1 league, but then you have it's like Thanos, like snap the fingers, you lose half, but then in the long run, it's a good thing.
Okay, buddy. Okay.
Hey, Avengers Endgame, let's go.
But this quote was published on Twitter by the NWHL. They said, "We will pursue all opportunities to ensure the best players in Canada have a place to play. Those conversations have started already and have quickly become a priority." So you just feel that there's already, as we already mentioned, teams in Toronto and Montreal going to grow. I believe Les Canadiens are the Montreal team. In Montreal, that was the CWHL. I'd hope that they stick with that name. The Toronto Furies, obviously in Toronto. I'd love to see them expand into Calgary. Like we said, the Calgary Inferno actually won the Clarkson Cup just exactly a week before this news came out.
Like, did they like the Inferno just like see have the Flames and they're like, we're just gonna be like close but not the same? Because like the Leafs have the same thing, and I think the Habs is like the women's are like super similar. Like the women's
not that
jersey.
Well, I think-
no, but they're like
okay.
blue with like a white maple leaf.
I
So
think
they look
that
the
part
same.
of part of the culture is there.
yeah. Well, it's
And I mean, I'd really like. Sorry, Sab. I'd really like to see some NHL owners step up and involve themselves in the women's game. The Pagulas, who own the Sabres, actually own the Buffalo team in the NWHL, and a lot of the work is done there. So I think that it makes sense that the women's teams are branding themselves similar to the men's teams, because I
100%.
think that we should have sports clubs here, like you have the
Okay.
Toronto Maple Leafs own
Like they do in
multiple
Europe?
organizations like they do in Europe.
Or football?
Bayern Munich has a soccer team, but they also have a basketball team. They have other stuff like that. So.
Like MLSE, you mean? Mm-hmm. So stuff like
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Well, also because you're saying the Toronto Fury has the same like colors, all of Toronto teams have the same, except for the Raptors. Maybe you have the Argos are in blue, the Blue Jays are obviously in blue, Leafs are in blue, and the Fury are in blue. And then
TFS is red. I'm just gonna
TFS or TFC?
TFC. Sorry, my little sister goes to TFS.
My little cousins
But
go to
also-
TFS.
but also-
Oh,
you
really?
run to
How
the-
old are they?
They're
I think we talked about this once.
I think we did. They're gonna turn 6. I think they're
Okay,
going into first grade.
not even close. Okay.
No?
Okay.
Okay.
But also like with Montreal, the Expos and the Canadians have the same roughly colors. If I'm
Not at all.
mistaken. No,
Like they have red, but it's mainly blue and white.
and the Alouettes I think are in that same vein.
The Alouettes don't really. The colors in Montreal aren't
Yeah,
that
they're
none
not
of the
similar.
Montreal colors are similar,
Well,
except for the women's team, like hockey teams. I think they're all
Yeah.
because they have what's their MLS name?
The Montreal Impact,
Oh yeah,
which is blue and black.
and
Okay, Montreal's not consistent
Yeah,
with
see?
Toronto.
yeah, but Toronto's also not that consistent.
They're pretty consistent.
Pretty consistent,
TFC.
other than
There's
Four
TFC.
teams. TFC and the
And
Raps.
TFC and the Raps, and they both wear
Which are
red.
2 of the 4 major sports leagues. That's 50% fail rate.
You're not considering the Canadian Women's Hockey League a major anymore?
Okay, yes,
hog-
I'm
it's
not
hog-
because
it's
it
folded.
shut down. So no, it's not a major league anymore.
But I mean, what do you guys think that the NHL needs to do here? They're committing the full 100,000 that they were already committing to women's hockey. So I don't think it's. I don't.
not a lot.
I don't know if it's enough.
It's not enough.
It is double.
The
But-
CWHL runs mainly on a volunteer force. I don't know if that's the same with the NWHL. I know that they just started paying their players, and I think that hopefully the NHL will help build that. But the NHL needs to grow the game, and they don't just need to grow it to white men.
Well, it's
They need to grow
Hey. Yeah, fair.
it's also
'Cause
part of
that-
their demographic, but
because that's how you grow the game.
also you said
It's
$100,000.
$100,000.
That's not a lot.
No,
Honestly,
nothing.
It's
that's
pittance.
nothing.
That's
It's pittance.
chump change.
It's pocket change for the NHL. So
I wouldn't say it's pocket change for the
It is
NHL.
pocket
It's
change for the
pocket
NHL.
It is pocket change for the NHL, but that's still $100,000 that they're
to
spending.
us, it's a lot of money. But like when you talk about the size of the NHL and how much revenue that they make, they can definitely put a little more into like a women's hockey league. No,
Low-key.
like if the NWHL merges with the CWHL, so they bring in more teams that were in the Canadian Women's Hockey League, then it'll be great, and then you can have one conglomerate league like the NHL in terms for male hockey. So it's just the issue of you had 2 sources you had to worry about, one for America and one
Yeah, it's
for
like CFL, NFL.
Yeah, that's what I was going to compare it to. Is the CFL
But CFL's
it's-
trash.
is not exactly. It's
Johnny
not,
Manziel. Yo, the AAF also, like that new football league.
Yeah,
they shut down operations. Like
Oh, they
just started.
did?
Yeah,
Oof.
one of the founders or whatever was like, "Yeah, psych, I don't want to be in this anymore."
It was like 8 teams they had, and it actually looked pretty good.
Yeah, because like the first game, like someone got destroyed, and then there was no flag, and it was like, whoa. it's not soft league like the NFL anymore. So like everyone was gonna go to it, but then you have all those problems with like concussion and
The same problem the NFL
the same
has been
problem
having
the NFL's
for
been having.
years now.
And it's a huge problem. But like, you know what?
But
it's a fun
having
game.
one joint league makes it way better.
100%.
I think it's also the obvious solution that the NHL steps in and helps financially and helps run some of these organizations.
Yeah, you can. Like, I enjoy the idea of clubs where like you have a city and like they have a bunch of teams. Like MLSE is kind of doing that with the Leafs and Raptors, but like they don't have the Blue Jays.
But
They
it's
have
and
TFC,
it's
though,
also but it's not the same as to what we see in Europe. There's less hands-on.
But they also
with
have
that, you
they
know
have
what I mean?
esports now.
They do.
Which
And
is-
I think that like I said, I think it's the obvious solution, and I think that the 100,000 the NHL gives to the women's leagues is pittance. I'd love to see them get more hands on, but it looks like hopefully the women's game grows from this, and they revive the CWHL teams are revived, and the NWHL only continues to grow.
Because it could be just like, yes, it's a sad thing that CWHL is folding, but it's definitely, there could be a step in the right direction, as we said earlier.
100%.
That you just add it to everything. Like everyone you have one joint league, and it makes viewing, like as a viewer, it's way easier as opposed to having to follow
Two different
leagues. If you enjoyed the player, like
I don't
if
think
you
it's
enjoy-
less.
No.
I think less for viewing, more for like stability sense. There's not
You
the
don't split
combating.
fan bases, like
Yeah.
because then you like people follow a team, and if they're following the CWHL team, that means they're not touching the NWHL like at all.
Yeah.
Like I'm a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. That doesn't mean I'm a. There's no
NHL's
real
not-
comparison, but that doesn't mean I'm also a fan in the KHL. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when you have one league and everyone can have their own team, and then you can have pretty much double the viewers for
Yeah.
the NWHL instead of splitting it, because Canada is where a lot of the viewers come from for hockey, much less from especially southern states, more northern states like Minnesota.
Oh yeah, you could go to Tampa before they were good, and get a ticket for like $20 and watch a Tampa Bay Lightning game for like $20.
You can watch a Florida Panthers game for $6.
It all depends if they're good. Like Tampa's now good, and Florida's.
It depends on where.
It depends on
Because like Toronto, they could be trash, and it's $600 for like a nosebleed.
Toronto is its own beast.
But it's a cultural thing here.
Toronto's its own beast that I would love to talk about on hours on end because it's dumb. How much
dumb.
they
And they need to do what
charge?
the Jays do. The $5 beers and food. That's such a big move that the Jays did this year. I'm
Well,
gonna get
'cause the
so
Jays
drunk
are
at a
so-
Jays game. Let's go.
the Jays are so screwed this year.
Oh
They're
yeah,
so
and they
bad.
just
Oh, they
traded
just-
Kevin Pillar.
Yeah, that's-
Shed a
Man,
tear.
that was my boy. Like he was Jewish.
Superman?
Like he threw. I miss him.
Guys,
Already.
let's stay
Sorry.
let's stay focused here. I mean, I think that as we've said, it's pretty sad, but the women's game is only growing. It's getting better and better and better. I think some of at least one of my favorite hockey memories, one of the ones that'll sit with me forever, is Marie-Philippe Poulin in 2010 or 2014 when
The women's game where they
came back in regulation, then won it in overtime. I was
was
I was in
2014,
grade
sure.
9, so it was 2014.
Yes, 24 because 2010 was the golden goal.
Well, that was Crosby.
But yeah,
that's my
different.
favorite hockey memory of all time. But I think that the Canadian women's 2014 game was like one of the best games of hockey I've like seen, and
The women's game
awesome.
the women's game is fast
It's
and
a lot
it's
less physical.
It's skillful, and I think that 100% it
It's
is.
where like the NHL is going.
It's less physical, and yeah, I 100% agree. I
It's
think
where
that
most hockey's going.
I think that
just
it's
speed
where
and skill.
hockey's going. The women. I cannot say enough about players like Marie-Philippe Poulin and Hillary Knight and the likes of that. And I think that this move it might hurt now. A lot of players will find themselves out of roster spot and out of a team to play with. It'll hurt the lower level players, but I hope in the end that the league rises and women's hockey as a whole rises out of this.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it will eventually pan out. Change sucks, but like, and it's always bandages that you gotta like, or wounds that are
It's a
that
necessary
heal.
change.
It's a necessary change because when there was two leagues, like it sucks that they had to close one down and they couldn't just do some kind of merger or something. Like when the NHL went from the what's it called, What was the league before?
Is the World Hockey Association?
Yeah, WHA. Like moved into the NHL and became one league instead of like two different leagues. So they could. I think it would have been ideal for something like that to happen, but I think it's a lot harder to do that, especially with less revenue coming in.
And I mean, the two leagues were not exactly on the friendliest of terms either.
Yeah, no. So
it's definitely, it may be a healthier thing to fully just shut down one and then slowly integrate more teams from Canada into that league. So, because if they're not the friendliest terms, like you wouldn't want to merge with something that you hate. So when they bring them in, it's like, oh look, we're
Hostile.
expanding. It's like, well, it's like what the NHL has done with Vegas and soon to be Seattle. Is oh look guys, we're expanding more teams, and so they
need to get rid of some teams before they expand more teams.
But then the WHL.
I just
don't come after my Yotes.
I'm not. I was talking about the Sens, but like them too.
Hey, as Marshall's cover. Yeah.
Hey, Marshall said that once Brady Tkachuk and Thomas Chabot are not on this team anymore, he's going to be a Winnipeg fan.
Yeah, I mean,
so his loyalty is stricken on right now.
I mean, he's just the organization has been fucking him over since day one this year.
Yeah.
We'll get to that a little later. There's some developments in Ottawa this week, but I think just to sum everything up, sad for the CWHL, but hopefully the women's games takes a step forward. The NHL needs to get involved. Now, let's switch back to being just a little bit more happy. Let's bring back some of that energy we had at the beginning of the playoffs. The Leafs clinched! Yay!
Yeah, let's go! John Tavares scored a goal on Long Island.
Did you see the picture?
Where all the fans were right behind him while he was selling, and they were like...
My favorite one is the woman who's just like...
There was a guy in like the back left who was just like... He was just like mad. He was like... I can't believe it was him.
Did you see the video of the guy when Tavares was in the box?
Yeah.
He's cursing Tavares out. Somehow that is the most embarrassing video that's come out of the island this year.
That is the
No.
That one's worse. I did.
The one that came out for the first game when they had
Pajama Boy.
My boy won't have Tavares.
That was the cringiest video I've ever seen.
I was watching
in
that
my life.
in silence because I was producing, but I was just hurting on the inside. I was going,
like why? Like, it's so stupid.
It's unnecessary. He gave you 9 good years of.
But they were ruined.
You should have told us. We got picks for you. We could have got picks for you, you snake.
And I mean, not to beat down on the Islanders, but I think that there is a little rivalry going, and it felt good to win that game.
Yeah, no,
it felt good.
So
I felt like the next day I was walking around a little pep in my step. I was feeling good.
I really wanted Johnny T to score an empty netter too.
I think that also helped quell the disappointment that I had for the game that the Leafs played last night. They mustered, I think, 3 shots through.
There's 2 shots in the first period.
Woo!
Yeah, 2, and then I think it was 3 shots through 26 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, but then after that, they killed the second, the second half of the second period.
And I mean, a lot of score effects take on, but
So is Toronto Maple Leafs the Tom Brady of the NHL?
Like
they come back in like the back half and start actually
out of the 3
being a real team
seasons
this year.
Only 2 seasons, 1.5 seasons has been trash starts to games.
I would just really, I'm just really happy and relieved that they clinched. I don't know about you, but I'm a nervous ball of stress, and combined with everything else, the Leafs not clinching, I think in the back of my mind, all those disaster scenarios were just sitting there. So I think it's nice and calm that they have it. I'm not too concerned with how the last couple of games shake out. Now, that being said, I want the Leafs to beat Tampa, and I want the Leafs to beat Montreal. I think the Leafs really need to beat Montreal because I don't want to sit in the same room as my friend Josie when the Habs are beating the Leafs. So, but that's just a more me thing. I think that at the end of the day, that we can take a deep breath, a collective deep breath as Leafs Nation.
But
it's fine.
what if
No.
they already are not in the playoffs? Josie can talk all the shit she wants, but they're not in the playoffs.
But like, how great would it be
to beat them
if they came here and they needed a point or anything on the last day of the season, and we kicked the shit out of them?
That would be so satisfying.
That is everything that I dream of. It's what I need. Sorry, Josie.
I'm not sorry. She made fun of me one time because I was like, I'm gonna go make a bowl of cereal, and she was like, make a bowl of cereal, and I was like, man, this is stuck in my brain. She's like, you're gonna make a bowl of cereal,
gonna
like,
come
you pour
over.
a bowl of cereal, like, you don't make
She's
it.
gonna come over on Saturday, and you're just gonna.
I'm gonna make a bowl of cereal.
Yeah, I'm
Also, Twitter poll right now. Everybody tweet at the Real Good Procast on Twitter. Tell us if you make a bowl of cereal or if that is wrong.
No. It's not if that's wrong, but that is it a common phrase or not? To say I'm gonna go make a bowl of cereal. Yes.
Yeah.
If you make something, it means you're adding things together, and you're adding cereal and milk in a bowl. You're making something.
Just tweet at us and tell us how wrong Ian is.
Okay, like I don't have to be here. Like I can leave whenever.
But well, I think you did want to talk about Garrett Sparks a little bit before you do take off.
I did.
So why don't we get into Sparks?
At the beginning of the season, man, I was fired up. I was like, this guy, .933 save percentage in the AHL last year. I think he can really step up his game. He hasn't really shown that he is an NHL caliber goalie yet, but I was like, this year, I think he can do it. Fuck no, he can't. He's trash. He's terrible. We should have kept McElhinney. As much as I hated Don Cherry for saying that, we should have kept fucking McElhinney. Have you seen the season he's had this year?
It's been so good.
Fuck Carolina. Fuck. Are you kidding me? Like, you can't save one puck? And then McElhinney goes and he's like, flaily, and he saves all the pucks. You know who doesn't save all the pucks when he goes, flail? Sparks. Fuck you, Sparks. No, not fuck you. Like, you're a good guy, but like, man, just be NHL caliber. I wanted to believe in you.
I don't think I'm necessarily at that point yet. Garrett Sparks does anger me a little bit and stress me out when he's in the net. It hurts to see him make all those saves, but it hurt with McElhinney too. I think they play a similar style. McElhinney just seems to get the pucks to hit him all the time, and Sparks can't.
Because McElhinney's a real good vet. He's a real good pro.
Calm down.
Now, I think that it is one of the blemishes on Kyle Dubas's track record when he looks back at this year, the decision at the beginning of the year to pick Sparks over McElhinney. McElhinney goes on and he has a great season. I don't know about Picard. I don't know where Picard is at. I know last time I heard of him, he was in Florida and not Florida. He was with the Flyers and not having a good time. Now, I will stand by Kyle Dubas's decision as that was smart asset management. At the time, I believe wholeheartedly that it was the right decision. You take
Hindsight's 2020.
You take the 25-year-old instead of the 30, 33, 34, however old McElhinney is. But I do think I agree with you, but I don't think we'll see Sparks again, and I'm not that stressed out about
next
it.
Year. But then we got our guys in like the juniors, not AHL, but like
there's Joseph
juniors.
Wool and
Ian Scott,
Colin Glass.
Tanner Glass, I'm pretty sure.
One of them. I'll figure out.
Glass Tanner. What a name.
Man, we were doing a presentation. This is completely random, but I had a presentation this week, and in class we were each introducing our names, and then we were doing it on a craft brewery, so we were each introducing a different craft beer at the same time. And like when we were going, we went like down the line, and all I could think about was like the East-West Bowl, where I was like, Ian Blumenthal, Frequency American Pale Ale. Like I literally said that, and I was like,
Harvard University, DeVry University,
Ian Blumenthal, Michigan University.
I hope as this podcast grows, we missed the opportunity to do it with Jacob Hanlon, but I would love to create little sound bites where all of our guests are just like, Jacob Hanlon, University of Ottawa.
This is really harkening back to like our first podcast.
Yeah, throwbacks.
Was us just talking about the dumb East versus West Bowl.
I forgot we already talked about that.
Can you believe that we've done this for a whole season? It's a little bit hard to believe.
Well,
we've done this for a whole season and stayed at it. I think that's
proud of us.
Thank you to us and thank you to you for tuning in, because otherwise
I just want to put it
Our
out there
voices
that I'm the
wouldn't be
only
there.
person to not miss an episode.
Oh yeah, I missed an episode.
I think I've only missed one.
Yeah, I know, but like I'm the only one to not miss an episode, so I think I'm the most dedicated.
I agree, 100%. Most dedicated.
My education.
most dedicated player.
No, our most dedicated is Mo. You can hear him screaming once time.
Mo is in every episode at least once. I have to agree with Seb there.
All you hear in the background is,
Also, Rip Mo.
Rip Mo, man, Rip Mo. But I think
He's
that's
not
better.
actually dead.
Yeah, no.
He's
Mo's here.
not dead.
We haven't killed him yet.
Oh.
Damn idiots.
Why don't we get back on topic now? I mean, I think that, Sparks probably not the best decision in hindsight, but hindsight, as Seb said, is 2020. And I think that next year we'll find a backup goalie and go on our way. I'd love to see Sparks, though.
Yeah. I'd like to see him go somewhere else and, like, make a backup role for himself. I don't want to see him be good because then I'm going to be pissed. But, like, I hope he goes somewhere. Yeah, like,
just got an old man, sees Sparks go, he's going,
if he's good, I'm going to be like,
yeah, but the thing is with Sparks is he's also our backup.
yeah,
I know
he's
he
trash
should-
backup,
I know
though.
he's a trash backup, but at least like
You got to be able to make
silver-
saves to be in the NHL, even at the backup level.
Silver lining is he was our backup.
Yeah, facts. That's it.
Why don't we
Silver lining.
Now, why don't we shuffle on and talk about some other nitpicky depth options here? Kylie Rosen is up with the Leafs, and he scored his first NHL goal the other night.
That was the dumbest goal. That
It
watching
was so
that
not good.
that-
No, but it like tipped
looks
off
like
something. It happens.
it
Like,
happens.
put it on net. We were winning the game, like possession wise,
Oh yeah.
and we should have had more goals, but we didn't. But whatever, I'm not mad about it. And Callie Rosen scores his goal. I was fired
Also,
up.
it was in Long Island, which is more of a
Yeah. Oh, that's so hype.
of yours.
I dislike Islanders fans from a deep part of my heart.
They're New Yorkers.
Like they are just.
and Long Island.
They make me very, very, very angry, and I don't know what it is. It's like Bruins fans. But Bruins fans I'm starting to get more tolerable with because I like Brad Marchand.
Yeah, Brad Marchand.
Because it's New York.
That hurt. That hurt.
It's New York.
Declan's
Okay, we're
ability.
gonna go past this
Declan's
quickly.
ability to do accents.
Just the Canadian is
Like,
the
on a
only one I
scale
can
of,
ever
like, 1
do.
to 10, 10 being superb and 1 being trash. It's like a -5.
Yeah, I support that.
On a scale from Declan to Jeff Dunham, how good are your mouth skills?
I think your mouth skills are pretty good, Ian.
I'm a solid 6.9 on the mouth scale, Charlie.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's not talk about this. So, Callie Rosen is a great. I think he looked good in his.
He
first
looked
couple-
good. Him and Dermott is everything I've been wanting all year.
He's still there. It gives me anxiety.
Also, Marinson and Zaitsev, not horrible.
I have liked Zaitsev's
Hot
game.
take.
Not gonna lie.
No.
Hot take. Zaitsev's been solid. Not hot. Like hot take also, but not really hot take. Like I still don't like Marincin.
Solid take. I think both of them are bad.
When Steve was doing his LFR questions or whatever, my friend sends me a screenshot.
Steve, like he's your best friend.
Everyone knows who I'm talking about. This is a Leafs podcast. Steve Dangle, okay, the guy who does LFRs and is like, always on Sportsnet. And everyone hates him because like he's always on Sportsnet. And no
love
one wants him
Steve
on
Dangle.
Sportsnet.
I love Steve
That
Dangle.
isn't a Leafs fan.
Everyone in Alberta hates Steve Dangle, but I love Steve
Yeah, I
Dangle.
know. So he was. My friend was on Twitter, like looking at the questions. He didn't pick it for his video, but the question was like, on a scale from Marincin to Riley, how did Mr. Rosen do in his debut? And I was like, that is a perfect question.
It's a quality
I'm
question.
gonna give him a solid.
7.
I'll give him.
No.
I'll give him a solid 29 out of 34.
No, I was gonna give him. That's good. I like that. But I was gonna give him a solid like Zaitsev level. Because Zaitsev, rookie Zaitsev level.
So first year Zaitsev level. I mean, a lot in the analytics community would say he was bad then too, but I think that Zaitsev had one good year and has
And that's it.
cratered.
Man, we paid him so much money.
So much money.
Like, for
why
like
the ti-
so many years.
This is just what the summer is going to be.
That's
We're just
what
going to be
the
like, you know who
ticket-
makes too much money?
Zaitsev.
Nikita Zaitsev.
Yeah, unless he's killer in the playoffs, and then we're gonna be like, you know what? You know who doesn't make enough money? Zaitsev. Yeah.
He's gonna have, if he has a major
Hey,
run, like he's like the best defenseman on the Leafs in the playoffs. Everyone's like, why aren't we paying him more? And
Why
then-
are we paying
and
him
then-
$11 million?
Ian,
And
the,
then the regular season comes in, and you're like, oh, that's why.
Oh, that-
Ian, the chief, just called. He said that take is not it. Get out of
Well,
here.
you
Go.
know what?
Get the fuck out.
I can
We're
take hot
saying
takes whenever I
strong
want.
ifs. It's a strong
This is
if.
a strong if.
It is. It is
Some people are playoff players, man.
not Zaitsev. Anyways, why don't
Some
we,
people are way better in the playoffs than they are in the regular season. Change my mind. Zaitsev is Russian.
Well, a lot of people come
Or is he
in.
Russian or
A lot of
Ukrainian?
people show
Zaitsev
up
is
in
Russian.
He's Russian. He could be a playoff guy. All you need is that grit, dog.
all you need is to be Russian? That's what you need to be a playoff guy?
Yes.
It's like this the opposite Don Cherry.
Yeah, literally, all you need to be a good playoff guy is Russian, because then you're greasy.
you're always
not,
rushing
sorry, not
around.
gritty. That's what I meant. Gritty, and
Hey,
you're
that's-
like,
I
I
like
love
that
vodka.
playoffs.
Also, speaking of gritty, So sad we're not going to get to see any playoff Gritty. It hurts
Playoff
me.
Gritty will be so
shucks.
funny.
Playoff Gritty is just regular Gritty turned up to 1,000, and I think it's everything hockey needed. But
Did you see that video of this baby crying when Gritty was like looking at him through the glass, and a baby just starts crying because he's so scary? And I'm like, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Like Gritty is a scary looking motherfucker. Like that crazy hair. Remember when he first came out and everyone was like, "This is the worst decision the Flyers have ever made," and then it was the best.
when I
decision
saw
the
it come
Flyers
out, I
ever
was
made.
like, "Oh, I love this, and I'm only going to love this more."
Well, didn't
Well, first episode is called
yeah, Youpie and
Youpie and the Philly Fanatics Love Child. We did.
harken back to the first episode, the one I was on when we didn't have a camera and no one saw my face. It was great.
Well, now you're back.
Oh,
You've been back
you
once
know.
before. It
yeah,
was-
but the camera didn't work that episode.
yeah, I know. I wonder if the camera's
Whose
going to work
fault
this
was
time.
that?
It was mine.
Seb.
Usually is mine.
Yeah, but also Declan because he doesn't charge the camera. I
No,
charged it
no,
today.
it was a
Not-
space issue.
It was
that
a space
time.
issue.
Oh, it was?
Couple of weeks ago was a charge issue, but
last
I think
week was a
we're
charge issue.
talking down a hole. Bob Cole last game
just like
la-
switch.
last game that he is calling in his long and illustrious career, the man that is Hockey Night in Canada, being honored with the Leafs and Habs game. You have to hope it's a classic. Bob
He's-
Cole is one of the guys that I've looked up to my
He's
entire
33%
life.
of Hockey Night in Canada. Because it's him, Don, and Ron.
Yep.
If not wrong, let me tell you.
Bob Cole is always someone I've looked up to, someone who basically narrated my childhood, if you will.
It's pretty much Morgan Freeman, but for Canadians.
As Declan is falling asleep.
What is this? What's his name? That's not Morgan Freeman. That was
David Attenborough.
No. That was closer to the guy in Indiana Jones. You know who?
Harrison
the old guy.
Ford?
No, the old guy. Sean
Connery?
Connery.
Oh, my Sean Connery.
Yeah, see, that's exactly what you did before. Sean Connery.
I think that they were the same.
They were the same.
Yeah, exactly. So suck it. It's Sean Connery. That's
I
where we're
disagree.
going with it. But Bob Cole is more of a national icon.
National treasure.
Yeah. He's on
Yeah.
that level with like Drake.
I feel like Drake's
I think-
level is getting lower and lower. I feel like Bob Cole is.
I was gonna say, I
It's
think
just
that's an
Elvis.
insult to Bob Cole.
Yeah, it's a,
Is it?
yes.
Really?
Bob Cole,
Drake,
national
Drake,
treasure.
Okay, Drake last year, maybe.
No,
May-
Drake is a
equal-
national treasure, 100%.
May equal with Bob Cole, but now Drake's really just like
Seb, would you consider Justin Bieber a national treasure?
I asked Declan this yesterday.
a national treasure. I wouldn't say a treasure.
Yes, I would.
I-
100%.
I wouldn't say treasure. I'd say an icon though. It's
He is a Canadian icon. Okay, that's fair. A Canadian icon, but not a national treasure. I would still put
Like, you look at-
Drake and Justin Bieber as national treasures solely because, like, the worldwide presence they have supersedes most other, like, probably anyone from Canada
but
ever.
it's not the
Ever?
best.
Who?
Gretz,
But
maybe? No.
No, Drake and Justin Bieber.
No,
100%
that's
more.
true. Music. Maybe a politician. Maybe a Trudeau.
Like Pierre.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Pierre. But, like, I
Maybe
still think
FLQ.
Drake and stuff are, especially with the younger
Fluck.
generation.
The flick.
The fluke.
Okay, we totally went off topic.
No,
with
we didn't.
Bob Cole.
That's what podcasts are for, though.
We just ranted. Have you not realized? As I listen to this on a on this basis, because I have to listen to you guys
On a
speak.
weekly basis?
On a
There you go,
weekly
buddy.
basis.
A plus, Seb.
A
A plus.
basis.
Weekly
Insert blank
minus
here.
one
I was
basis.
playing Mad Libs. Anyway, it's basically you guys always talk about. I've lost train of thought.
Oh, no.
So it's exactly what happened. So
Yeah,
we talk
we
about
just-
one thing and
and
move into
then-
something else. Is
yeah.
that what you're gonna say?
Yeah,
Okay.
you basically talk about one thing, and then
For like
someone
2
goes.
seconds.
Someone goes, "Oh yeah, I remember this." And then
Oh,
just
yeah.
starts
What
saying-
about this thing? And then we.
And it just goes.
And then we have
And
a
I'm just like-
20-minute tangent. We never circle back around and we end the
And
episode.
I'm like off screen. I'm off screen. I'm like, guys, we're like 40 minutes in. We gotta like talk about what we want to talk about. And they're like, no.
Anyways, disregarding what all of you said, why don't we talk about the NHL? Simply disregarding what their fans said. Today they re-upped on their commitment to do the same playoff format next year at least. The NHL and NHLPA agreed to. And that is the sound of
just
all
looking
of Leafs Nation right there as they already see the impending doom of playing Boston once again next year.
Man, I can just see it. Game 7. Bergeron scores OT winner. And then I'm going to go jump off Dutton Tower.
You want keys for the Secret Santa?
Now listen, I think Toronto actually has a chance against Boston, but we'll get into
We
that.
also had a chance last year.
And we'll get into that
We
next
always
week
have a
when we do our
chance.
playoff preview. But I think that the NHL once again, and American sports as a whole, showing that they're trying to manufacture rivals, which simply doesn't work. And I think that
you know how you
I think
manufacture
that
a rival? John Tavares leaves
Leave
Long Island.
you
can't
can't
make
you
that
can't you
shit
can't
up.
manufacture a rivalry, and I think that's exactly the point. I think that the NHL is idiotic and against its best nature. And I saw a tweet yesterday that's like 1 through 4 in the East have to play higher seeded teams in the standings than
The West?
than the guys in the West compared, and it wasn't even close.
always-
No. Sorry, it's teams that are lower ranked. Like if you were to rank the league in order,
Like
to
President's
16.
Cup
1
order.
to
Yeah,
16.
President's Trophy order.
Our top 4 are playing higher ranks than
Yeah.
a lot of the.
They're playing
Then-
better,
then-
they're
then-
playing, in theory, better games.
They're playing
because-
better teams
better
because
teams
their divisions are just better, and I think it's
The West is trash this year.
just a sheer
You mean the
ignorance.
kiddie pool division?
The kiddie pool conference.
Sorry.
There you go. Except the Central is the Pacific is the kiddie pool division. If you're gonna go very specific.
I think there's only good teams and bad teams in the West. I don't think there's really anything in
no.
between.
And McDavid.
Like very, very good. Not great, but very good. And then horrendous.
And then there's McDavid in the middle.
And then McDavid's like the team's horrendous, but like at least
At least
there,
he's
you know?
pretty good.
McDavid is
good.
like Atlas, where
He's all right.
bearing
He's
the
like a
weight,
85 overall.
bearing the weight of Edmonton on his shoulders. But I
the
mean,
weight of Shirelli.
the weight of Shirelli's poor decisions.
It's
But
literally like clipped to his ankle, like like in like
Ball chain?
the ball chain. That's what Shirelli's decisions are to McDavid. He's on the ice like pulling around that ball chain,
He's like, screw.
and he's still faster than
He's still
everybody. So sometimes it'd be like that.
I mean, it looks like the league is just blind to everything that this playoff format has caused. That 1 through 16, the 1 through 8 is just a better format that makes more sense.
I mean, 1 through 16 is the best, but you can't do that with like time differences and stuff because that would make it a lot more
that's-
difficult. So 1 to 8, I like it. It's very good. Fuck off, league. Stop doing these
That's-
stupid divisions.
like,
Fuck
that's-
you. I don't want to play
there's
Boston in the first
always
round.
been that issue.
Us
of-
and Boston are top 5 in
not
the
that.
East, and we're playing each other. Top
Of a-
4.
of the head organization, the NHL,
Head.
not listening to the viewers. You've seen the NFL for how many X amount of years at this point. They don't give a shit what their fans think. And
Yeah, okay, fair.
and so as long as you guys keep coming back and keep viewing and they keep making money and they only have to put 100,000 to the women's hockey league, like, it's nothing to them.
I'm just gonna put it out there that the Leafs are 5th overall in the league, and we are playing the 3rd overall team in Boston.
I think that's more unfair to Boston if you look at it from an
Yeah, no,
objective point
yeah.
of
From an
view.
object- but that's also not fair for us. You know what I mean? Like 5th seed, if you're doing 1 to
should be
16,
4.
should be
No.
playing. If you're like
I would do
theoretically,
1 to 8.
if you're
I would
going
do
1
1
to
to 8.
16, you're playing the 11th seed, which would be Carolina.
Hey, well, you know what
How much
happened
easier of a
last
series
night?
would that be?
It's just frustrating, man. Hockey will be a great sport when it's done, to borrow a phrase from Dangle.
We would be, man. If they had the 1 to 8 seed though, we would be playing the Islanders right now, which would be crazy.
Hilarious. That would be the birth of a full-blown rivalry.
Man, that'd be nuts.
Like, they already hate Tavares. Like,
How much would they hate him
Tavares-
if he scored like the game-winning
Oh
goal?
my! Like, and, like, or they get swept 4-0, and Tavares is just like solid the entire series.
Ian, can I ask you to pull up what the playoffs would be if they started today? I want to play a little. I want to do a little exercise.
Okay.
Seb, let's just fill
Oh.
some time here. How's your day going?
It's going all right.
That's
you
good,
know.
Seb.
My sickness is kicking in, so
Oh.
my voice is getting shot. But you know,
Stupid word.
That is
Oh, stupid.
unfortunate.
Okay.
how about
So if
them
the playoffs
Jets?
started today, Tampa would be playing Columbus.
Is that a rivalry?
No,
Next series.
Boston, Toronto.
Is that a rivalry?
well, that's
Yes,
that's a,
but
Yes,
that's a
so
rivalry,
one.
yeah.
1. Okay. Washington would be playing Carolina.
Is that a
That's
rivalry?
Not a rivalry. That's just
Next one.
that's chump change to Washington.
Islanders are playing Pittsburgh.
Is that a rivalry?
No.
Nope.
No.
It's trash. That's the East.
Yep.
So you
Done.
got 1 out of 4. Or
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. 1 out of
Wait.
4. Yeah.
1 of 4.
Okay.
1 of 4. You
I
got
was
it.
like, I don't remember. Okay, in the West, you have Winnipeg playing
Calgary
Dallas.
is the top team in the West.
No, I know, but I'm saying Winnipeg
Okay.
playing Dallas.
Is that a rivalry?
No.
No.
Colorado is playing Calgary.
Is that a rivalry?
No.
Nope.
Nashville's playing St. Louis.
Is that a rivalry?
Maybe it's like a half.
I would say like St. Louis
that's-
and
but
Chicago are like
Yeah.
the biggest.
Yeah,
rivalry
agree.
out of that.
100% agree.
But that's like it's not.
It's like a clash of musical cities.
Yeah,
you
like
can
Nashville,
argue
Winnipeg
it's a rivalry, but it's not a massive
But you already
one.
know
Nashville,
that Nashville,
Winnipeg
Winnipeg's going to play the next round.
Well, yeah, but
That's its own
Yeah. And then the last playoff series is San Jose and Vegas.
so we're 1 for 8. The NHL's whole point of using this playoff format was to create rivalries. What do we have in the fucking first round? One goddamn rivalry.
Yeah, but
It's
the next
fucking
round-
pathetic,
okay,
and they've
in
re-upped
theory-
it.
All right.
And they've re-upped it.
In theory, if the best team wins, how many rivals? So
Okay,
take
so
it.
theoretically, Tampa would play Boston, which is
If I'm saying best team right now,
outrageous, which is the first team playing the 3rd seed in the league in the second round.
But I wouldn't argue there's
It
an
was
innate
Nashville
rivalry
and-
in there.
No, there's no rivalry there at all.
No.
And theoretically, like Washington would play New York, but I would give Pittsburgh an equal chance of winning that series for sure.
And Washington.
Pittsburgh is
has
a big
been
rivalry. Yeah, that's always a thing. So if they played each other, I would like it to be later on, which is why I don't mind not many rivalries in the first round, but also there wouldn't be rivalries in the first round if you had the 1 to 8 seed. I think it should be 1 to 8, and then you reseed every time to see like
before
top
the
team, worst team.
change, 'cause it was.
That's exactly what it
it's
was.
always been- it
Except
was-
they didn't have the reseeding.
They didn't have the reseeding, but and they've talked about having reseeding, but I think that
doesn't really
it's
matter,
the
honestly.
NHL tripping over their own feet once again. They had a very simple decision that basically everyone was like, "This is a bad idea. Maybe we should just go back to 1 through 8." And I don't think 1 through 8 is a bad idea.
And it just this playoff format allows teams, which I don't think it has yet, but to have more points than a team in the playoffs, but not be in the playoffs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You could say that.
It allows that to happen.
You could
say
say
for
that-
the East-West,
Yeah.
theoretically, but it is significantly less
of a chance.
of
I
a
agree with
chance.
you on that. But yeah, you're right.
because you already you could have that now still with East and West conference, but you can double it because what the East-West is, you can have someone in the West that has more points than in the East making the playoffs, in the East not making the playoffs in the West, which sucks if you have the 1 to 8 seeding, but you can have that with the divisional seeding, but then you can also have a team in the same conference being better than another team.
No, I would say if they were to change the seeding, it should be 1 through 8. It shouldn't be a 1 through 16, because there's always been that final clash of East versus West.
Yeah,
That's-
not in the original league, like not in.
Well, yeah, but I wouldn't.
okay,
I wouldn't
yeah,
get
I
rid of.
mean,
I
our
wouldn't get
expansion.
rid of conferences. But I
In
think
our
it just
short-
makes sense to go 1 through 8. I think it's
In our short 20-year lives, like it's been like that the entire time, and I don't see a problem with that. Like before the change, obviously, it's 1 through 8. 1 through 8 works.
I mean, why it was 1 through 8 in the top of the top of each division, like because they still had divisions. Each of the top divisions got top seed, but yeah.
So it still has that. You get your preference maybe if you're top seed, congrats. But it still runs. You still have, it's usually if you become first in your division, it should be a blowout to the 8th seed team.
Hockey, I understand
4-0
that for like
sweep.
basketball,
Yeah.
but in a game of hockey, like as much Tampa should kick the shit out of everybody, but hockey, literally anything can happen.
What do they have? Like a 20% chance of winning the Stanley
that-
Cup? Does the best
Which
team,
is-
does the best team and that we've seen? I would argue ever,
Like it would be this team or the Washington Capitals from 2 years
or
ago.
or
was a
Detroit
mess.
95, 94,
or-
95 or 95, 96, 95, 96.
Where's Detroit guy?
where they got 63 wins.
Something stupid. The current holders.
Yeah, because
that's
Tampa
like
can't get it because they
76.
lost a couple games.
That's 76. It's like in 1976 is their ones with the most.
Most wins or most
Detroit,
points?
yeah,
Because
most
I know
wins versus
most
points.
I think most points is 94 or 95 or something
wins.
like that.
It was like 62.
No, it was 62 or 63 wins.
It was
I remember.
62 because Tampa needed 63. Me and
Well, is that to tie it or to beat it?
so 62 was the record.
tie it.
So to tie it was
Okay.
62, 63 to beat because me and our friend Steven, who's a Tampa Bay fan,
Because they have 60. But also
Yeah,
those wins
we-
were all regulation overtime. Tampa's won some in the shootout, so even if they
Yeah.
did, total wins would have been more,
Yeah,
but
'cause
they
ties
can still get
existed.
62, theoretically, if they win their next 2 games. But
so they can tie it at this point. But
they can tie wins, but then you can't say for regulation overtime because they didn't have the shootout. They just had ties.
But then also at the end of the day, you could argue if any of this regulation success matters because I mean, at the end of the day, we
It's
don't
all playoffs.
we don't value
Yeah.
we as hockey fans don't really value the President's Trophy. It's not like soccer where
It's
the winner of the
congrats.
league wins everything. It's like, oh, nice participation trophy. Where's the Stanley Cup?
It's literally Nashville last year.
And I mean, if you look at you can have a hypothetical path to the cup for Tampa Bay. They beat they beat Columbus in the first round, which I would argue is Columbus a
hard-
very good team.
They are, yeah. Man, every team.
They could have Columbus, Toronto, or Boston, and then Toronto or Boston, and I would argue both are very difficult. You can have Pittsburgh, and then you get to the final, and you could have and then you can have a Calgary. Like, and in that path, you play what? 3 of the top 5 teams.
You're playing 3 of the top 5 teams because it's Tampa, Calgary, Boston, Washington, Leafs. And then Islanders. Those are the top teams in the league right now. And you're having Tampa play 3 of those 5 teams to win the Stanley Cup instead of playing like 3 mediocre teams, which later rounds I think that you are always going to get a good team.
No, yeah, 100%.
Because
That's why they
the good
make it
team
that
wins.
far, yeah.
Yeah. But in the first round, you shouldn't be playing like Columbus doesn't have that many points, and like they deserve to be playing Columbus because like even if it was a 1-8 format, they'd still be playing Columbus.
No.
Yeah.
Given so,
It's-
that's whatever. But then the second round, you're gonna be playing Boston or Toronto. Otherwise, you'd be playing someone like Carolina.
It'd be
or
4th or 5th seed originally, right? If 1 and 8 faces 4 and 5, was
1-8, and then if you win, if they did
You-
the reseeding, they'd play either the lowest seeded team, so 7, 6, 5, 4,
I thought it
whichever
was 4
one.
and
or then
5.
4 or 5 would be the default.
yeah, 4 or 5 was the default.
If you don't have
Because on
reseeding.
average, that's
If you don't
statisti-
have reseeding,
yeah, on average, that's statistically the lowest because you get 4th or 5th. Because if 2nd and 7th, you might get 2nd. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I don't know.
understand.
I think
Also, we were talking about you have to be good. I'm not sure if I made the joke with you, but it was it Minnesota. They're always that team
Mediocre as fuck.
that made the playoffs. They're 8th seed. They got there and then just immediately lose.
I literally saw a post today. It was like a meme NHL page or like I forget. I think it was like I don't know, whatever. It was on Instagram, and it was like It was like a trophy with Minnesota on it. It was like congratulations Minnesota on having another average season.
yeah,
Minnesota, St.
Minnesota-
Louis.
Man, St. Louis is actually good though. Except
St.
they
Louis
have
had that tear mid-season.
14,
Which
no,
doesn't make any
13
sense.
game
They
with
also
14
lost
game
like
streak.
10 games in a row. I don't know how this team is in
Yeah, at
the
the
playoffs.
beginning.
They're such a fluctuating team. Who are they
First
facing?
round exit.
Who are they facing? First round?
Nashville.
Okay.
Nashville or Winnipeg.
It's gonna be Nashville or win. Yeah. Whichever one they play, they're gonna
Okay,
lose.
never mind. I was gonna,
Because I
they
don't
could
see-
go on a tear.
Unless Patrick Laine's trash still.
But then they have players like Blake Wheeler and Mark Scheifele.
They
And
have-
Hellebuck.
If Hellebuck just has a stinker, though.
yeah, but they have Jordan
Yeah, but you have 7
Binnington. You
games.
know, like
and that's the beauty of hockey. You have 7 games. You can have one bad game. It
Yeah,
happens.
I don't know, but why don't we keep chugging along? We're pretty deep into this podcast, and we haven't touched our favorite team yet, the Edmonton Oilers.
You mean
sorry,
McDavid?
McDavid.
I do mean McDavid, and that's exactly why we're talking about the Edmonton Oilers. We'll start. Do you guys want to start sad with the Edmonton Oilers? Or do you want to start happy?
What's happy
What's
there?
happy about
Yeah,
it?
let's go happy. So like because like I don't really
don't
know what
know.
happy is. So like I would like
intrigued.
to know.
Well, on Saturday, Milan Lucic, NHL Oiler great, got his 500th NHL point.
and his what 12th of the season.
yeah.
Snapped a 17-game goalless streak. So congratulations to the Edmonton Oilers. Looks like Milan Lucic really turned the corner at the right time for the franchise. Oh wait, they're not going to make the playoffs, and here are McDavid's quotes about it.
So that was okay.
shucks.
Okay, that makes sense. I like that.
Thank you. Basically Jeff Merrick, eh?
Thanks, James.
It's really, really high. We want to play in the playoffs as a team. I personally want to play in the playoffs. I'm not happy about it. It's going to be a long summer. It's going to be an insane summer. Coaching change, GM change, good times and bad times. It's been a roller coaster. It's been emotionally challenging. And he followed that up. With, we don't have a GM. We have a lot of crap to figure out. I hope we can put the right man in the right spot and can put together a good team. We let losing streaks drag on. We let times where we weren't able to find wins drag on. You have to find a way to stop the bleeding quickly.
Yeah.
McDavid has been a loyal soldier to the Edmonton Oilers all season, but I think that frustration's clearly boiling over here.
That was a very PC answer as well. Like he obviously showed.
He has to.
Yeah, I know. Like he's
media prepared.
he's media trained.
Like literally, that's what he is.
Oh, they're so
that-
media
that's
trained.
such
Also,
a-
Lucci has 20 points this season, so like. Better
Whoa,
than
whoa, 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 whoa,
That's
whoa.
honestly
You know who has
such-
more points? William Nylander. But
That's such a good response.
You know who's getting paid more than Lucic? Nylander.
just about though.
True.
But McDavid camp, that's a very good response. Like, you can tell the man's frustrated.
But I think that it speaks to that frustration.
Yeah.
Connor McDavid.
Trade the man.
I mean,
he deserves more than Peter Chiarelli's trash.
Well, Peter Chiarelli not there anymore.
Yeah, but
he's-
it's still his
It's his
trash.
Well, I
you
mean,
can't leave a stinking pile.
Connor
there.
McDavid is paddling up Schitt's Creek without a paddle. But
Just because you shit in a urinal and then get kicked out doesn't mean that's not your shit.
I don't like that euphemism. I feel
Like, you'll get kicked out of the bar, but
There's a
like you still
personal
shit in the
story there.
urinal and that's your shit.
Fun fact: Ian has shit in a urinal.
No, I haven't. It happened once in my elementary school, and like the whole school like was like, "Oh, who did it? Who did it? Who did it?" And they were like asking around, like, "No one fucking knew." Like, I didn't know.
But I mean, let's stay on topic. Let's stay on topic here. I think it's clear that McDavid is frustrated, and Leafs Twitter has been all over it. There's a lot of suggestions that we should get Connor McDavid. But I mean, do you see a Connor McDavid trade possible?
No, like, man, you can't trade a player like that, regardless of how trash your team
This
is.
offseason, when is he becoming a free agent? Does he?
2026.
Yeah.
I saw
He's so
I saw a
screwed.
meme it was like the big brain meme, and the first one was poor McDavid. He has to deal with Chiarelli's mess. The second was McDavid is making a lot of money. He made his decision, let him sit in it. And the third one was they should just fire everyone out of a cannon.
That's definitely the best move because that organization is a dumpster fire.
Right now, and the only reason it's a maintainable dumpster fire is because of McDavid.
And Draisaitl.
Maintainable. And Nuge.
It's
Yeah,
maintainable.
McDavid, I think that I can't remember the last time it happened, but McDavid and Draisaitl both 100-point scorers. They will not make the playoffs.
Since 74 or
Something
something.
stupid.
Yeah.
Something stupid.
Like, come on, dog.
There's a problem.
It's because they're so top heavy. If
Yeah.
they had more players, it's harder to get 100-point seasons.
If they had like competent players, like competent wingers, I think this team
if they had a
is
rest of a
threat.
team. If they had a rest of a team, like they have a first line.
Man, I think you can.
That's it.
I think you can roll. I think you can roll McDavid, Nugent, Draisaitl
as center, like,
down the
3
middle,
Cs.
and then you have just competent. You don't need great players. You don't need William
You just need a
Nylanders. You don't
healthy
need Mitch
amount of
Marner.
lines.
You just
You can always say fuck the fourth line. That happens.
You need Andreas Janssens, Kasperi Kapanens,
Tobias Readers.
Yeah, like,
If he scored on all of his
No, he
15
scored-
breakaways, we'd be
yeah.
in the playoffs.
like-
Nah, dog.
nope. Like, we did the math. You are wrong.
Carry the one and no.
I took a calculated risk, but man, am I bad at math. Like,
But I mean, I think it just speaks to
Volumes.
Edmonton. I think that this organization is going to have to figure out, in McDavid's word, a
speaks
lot of
to-
crap.
literally, Edmonton, our entire lives.
Thank God
Like, this
Winnipeg.
is what it has
Not
been.
our entire lives. They made the
Not
Stanley Cup
okay.
playoffs.
Okay.
Or they made the Stanley Cup in
In-
2005-06. That was when I became a Leafs. It was when I became a
When
hockey
I was
fan.
a fucking
First hockey.
toddler.
I was 6 years old. Don't remember that shit at all.
First hockey memory. Me and Omar. He let me stay up to watch the third period. I was a young little whippersnapper, and
you
I
lost.
got to watch them lose.
All right, calm down. You're 19. You can't.
Young
say-
little
you
whippersnapper.
can't be going saying
Back in the good
whippersnapper.
old days.
Back in my day, I used to walk to school up the hill with the Nazis shooting at me.
Have you met my grandfather?
Have you met mine?
Yeah, both ways. It was uphill, 4 feet of snow. You know, like,
With the Nazis shooting at you.
Yeah,
But
classic.
why
I
don't
always forget about that part.
why don't we talk about another dumpster fire in the city that we live, Ottawa? So last night, with Ottawa's loss, they will officially finish 31st on the year. I want to read you a Darren
Nice.
Dreger tweet from June 21st, 2018. Sorry. Dorian promises the Sens will be greatly improved next season, says most likely holding on to the 4th overall pick.
If you go from a 1 to a 2, it's like 100% improvement. So yeah.
Wow. What up?
Like not scoring 1 to a 2, like actually
Like in the
if you go for
draft.
1% to 2%, it's 100% increase. You doubled it.
And the Colorado Avalanche will have an 18.5%
improvement.
chance to get Jack Hughes in the in the upcoming draft.
Is it 18.5 or 20?
I think it's
slightly less.
I think they lowered it to 18.5.
That's
But
so dumb, man. Like, the worst team in the league should get, like,
A pity pick.
I don't think
A
they
pity
should.
pick?
I think that the way the league is built as a whole is flawed and rewards mediocrity. But anyways,
Isn't it always?
Man, just give the Leafs fucking Jack Hughes.
just give a team that will manage him properly.
Yeah, like if we can pay
Edmonton.
him, like fuck it.
Whoa, 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 whoa!
I was wait. That's why I said
Give a
it.
team that can develop, not Edmonton.
Not Edmonton. You can name 30 other franchises. 30,
Seattle.
I would argue 30. I would argue for Seattle will develop him better.
31.
31.
Man, no. Okay, you can also, but also for players, I wouldn't say goalies, because Philly can also not develop goalies,
No.
except for Carter Hart. But he wasn't really developed by Philly. He just was good.
But
Was
let's
good.
focus on the Sens here. How much are they ruining the decision to keep that 4th overall pick? I thought it was a horrible decision in the moment, and I think that as the year has progressed, everyone who said that is only getting proven more right.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yes, you're right.
Yes, you
it was
did
a
it.
terrible decision. They are a dumpster fire. Darren Dreger.
You didn't
was-
say anything.
Dreger with 1 G,
Very important.
Not the fake one.
not Dreger.
Man, that's so funny. I love fake Instagram accounts. I always get tricked by Sports Center with like they have like the N and the T or something like switched.
Switch.
So and they obviously like a comment like something ridiculous, and I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, Sports Center, you chill out, dog.
Fam.
But like honestly, the Sens, everyone knew they were gonna be trash, and Dorian
They were-
like.
What was it you showed me beginning of the season? It was like amount of dismay in the season. Like they've already accepted that they're not making the playoffs. It's like every team.
Oh, the sad it was a sad index. It was the team's likelihood to finish last and
No,
or
not-
to finish
not
last.
make the
No,
playoffs.
it was to not make the playoffs and win the lottery. And Ottawa's chance was 80, where most teams were like 3%.
It's just like a bunch of lines like here, and then you're like, oh, one line up here. Oh,
Ottawa.
what is it? Oh, it's Ottawa.
Oh, how's it going, buddy?
Oh
Like, oh, you're
Oh, you're all the way up there. Hey.
Whoa, hey man, how's it going?
Okay.
Okay, buddy, like you're trash. Stop being trash, and maybe we'll give you some respect.
Re-2-pecked.
Re
91 pecked.
man, re 7 packed.
Trey 91 tour.
Hi, my name is Trey, and I have a basketball game tomorrow.
I got a shoe game.
Yeah, that kid's funny.
That kid is pretty funny. Favorite Vine. No,
Really?
one of them.
No, it's not.
One of them, though. It's a
You
pretty
know-
funny
You know
Vine.
what it is. Adam.
Adam.
Just because it's your
That's
brother's
it. That's
name, you go,
exclusively
"Same
how
guy."
me and Adam communicate.
Adam, and then he goes, Declan.
No,
Bitch.
Adam.
no. The best one is definitely. There's only one race.
What about
Or there's only one race. The human race. What about NASCAR?
Man, also,
The one I quote-
great one is there's only one thing worse than a rapist.
a
A
child?
child.
The guy
No.
who says child kind of looks like Varys too from Game of Thrones. Also, who's excited for Game of Thrones? The teaser trailer got dropped this morning, and I shit my pants.
Yeah, I know it was fire. Yesterday morning.
Yesterday morning. Sorry,
know.
I watched it this morning.
I
Though.
know this guy's slow,
But,
whatever. Not
I
gonna
think
lie.
we're just rambling at this point. Why don't we call it a show, boys? We have no trivia for you tonight. We're missing Marshall.
Nice one,
I
Marshall.
prepared.
On top of
He said
that,
Matt Sundin.
How'd you know?
That's the only player that you would go for.
we'll do
great sketch.
predictions. We'll do predictions next week, and the show next week won't be on Wednesday. We're gonna wait for the playoff schedule to be released, and we'll record either the night of or the night before, whichever works out between us. Just check the Twitter once again at Real Good Procast. Mine is at DeBart14. Ian, I don't have yours off the top of my head.
At Ian_Blumenthal.
And check at Marshall Healy. 2 L's in Marshall.
I still don't get a plug.
Seb doesn't tweet about the podcast, so he doesn't get
I don't. You're right.
so he doesn't get a plug.
That's fine.
It's Sebastian
Fuck you.
Court.
Spell it.
SEBASTIANCOORT.
You got it.
Fuck you, Seb.
You don't think I can spell your name? We've
No.
lived together for a year.
Most people go COURT. That's why.
Yeah, but we've lived together for a year.
Yeah, but Mo still doesn't know my last
Yeah, but
name.
Mo is
Mo.
okay.
To be fair, I can't spell Mo's last name.
I can.
MIHDAWI.
Yeah, there you go.
I think we're just flexing up people at this
Yeah,
point.
we're flexing
could
that we
spell
can
it.
spell.
What do
Or-
you mean?
Except Declan can't spell, but I can.
I can't spell for
He's the
shit.
journal major and he's
But why don't we call this an episode, boys? Ian, stop flexing. No one. No,
Yeah, just huge.
no, nah, X.
I'm not flexing on the haters, you know. Like I got that watch flex going.
Are you from Markham?
Toronto, man.
Are you from Scarborough, bro?
Pati fam.
Scarborough, fam?
Wagwan.
Okay, fam. Thanks for tuning in tonight.
That was awful. Okay. Thanks for listening to the Real Good
yeah,
Procast.
thank you everyone for listening to the Real Good Procast. I can't believe it's been a season already that we've been doing it, coming to the end. Thank you very much for your support, especially you, the viewer in Minnesota, the one that watches every single week.
And the 69 downloads we got in Canada.
Let's go.
Thanks, guys. Make sure to get in touch. We're really excited for what the next episode has, as we mentioned. Check Twitter for updates on that. But other than that, I think that this is a show for Declan DeBarb, Ian Blumenthal, and Sebastian Court. Guys, have a good night.
Follow your hosts on Twitter at DeBarp14, at Ian_Blumenthal, and at Marshall Healy. Don't forget to follow the podcast at Real Good Procast.